The phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, a sharp vibration slicing through the hum of the refrigerator. My hand froze mid-stir, the wooden spoon suspended in the simmering pot of marinara, as the screen lit up with her name, Elise. I wiped my hands on the dish towel, the faint scent of garlic clinging to my fingers, and grabbed the phone. Her text glowed in the dim light. "I'll be working late with Joe tonight. Don't wait up." My stomach lurched, a cold fist twisting in my gut. Joe. Her boss. The CEO of Harper & Stone Law Firm. The man whose name had been slipping into our conversations like a splinter under skin. Small, sharp, impossible to ignore. I typed back, "Okay," my thumb hovering over the send button before I pressed it. The word felt like a surrender, too small for the weight it carried. I set the phone down and stared at the pot, the sauce bubbling like my thoughts, slow at first, then frantic. Elise had been distant for weeks, her laughter muted, her eyes darting away when I asked about her day. I'd chalked it up to the firm's big case, the one she said was all-consuming. But now, with her text burning in my mind, doubt crept in like fog, thick and suffocating. The apartment felt too quiet without her. The tick of the wall clock was a metronome to my unease, each second stretching into eternity. I turned off the stove, the sauce abandoned, and sank into the couch. My fingers traced the worn leather, where we'd sat just last weekend. Her legs draped over mine as we watched some forgettable movie. She'd smelled of lavender then, her hair brushing my cheek. Now the memory felt like a lie, a scene from someone else's life. I tried to rationalize it. Elise was ambitious, always had been. Late nights at the firm weren't new. Joe was her mentor, the one who'd fast-tracked her to junior partner. Of course they'd work closely. Of course she'd stay late. But the way she'd said his name lately, Joe, soft, almost reverent, not like a colleague but like a secret. And the way she'd started locking her phone, a habit she never had before. Small things, I told myself. Nothing concrete. But they piled up like pebbles in a jar, each one clinking against the last until the weight was undeniable. I grabbed my phone again, scrolling through our texts. The last few weeks were a graveyard of one-word replies. Busy. Tired. Later. No emojis, no warmth. I opened her contact photo, a candid shot from our trip to Maine last summer. Her smile was wide, her eyes crinkling against the sun. The ocean behind her a endless blue. I'd proposed that day, down on one knee in the sand, and she'd cried before saying yes. Now, staring at her face, I wondered if that woman still existed. The clock read 9:17 p.m. Too early to worry, too late to ignore. I poured a glass of whiskey, the amber liquid catching the light from the pendant lamp. The first sip burned, grounding me, but it didn't quiet the questions. Why didn't she say we're working late? Why just Joe? My mind conjured images I didn't want. Her laugh in his office, his hand brushing hers over a stack of case files. A glance held too long. I shook my head, trying to dislodge the thoughts, but they clung like damp clothes. I called her. It rang once, twice, then voicemail. Her voice bright and professional. "This is Elise Harper, please leave a message." Felt like a stranger's. I hung up without speaking, my throat tight. I texted instead. "Everything okay?" No reply. The silence was louder than any answer. By 10:30, I was pacing. The apartment, once our sanctuary, felt like a cage. Her coat wasn't on the rack. She'd forgotten it this morning, rushing out with a distracted kiss. I opened her laptop on the coffee table, the screen waking to a password prompt. I didn't know it. When had she changed it? We used to share everything. Passwords, dreams, fears. Now I was locked out in more ways than one. I sank back onto the couch, my hands trembling. The whiskey was gone, the glass sweating on the table. I thought of calling her again, but pride, or fear, stopped me. Instead, I opened my laptop and searched Harper & Stone Law Firm. The website loaded, sleek and polished, with Joe's face front and center. Joseph R. Caldwell, CEO. His smile was confident, his eyes sharp, like a predator who knew he'd already won. I clicked through photos. Firm events, charity galas, Elise in the background of one, her arm brushing his. My chest tightened. Was I imagining it? The way her body leaned toward him. The way his hand rested on her shoulder? At 11:15, headlights flashed through the window. I stood, heart pounding, and peered through the blinds. Her car pulled into the lot, but she didn't get out right away. I watched her silhouette, head bowed, as if she were texting, or crying, or both. When she finally stepped out, her heels clicked on the pavement, a sound I'd always loved but now felt like a countdown. The door opened and there she was, hair slightly mussed, lipstick faded, her blouse wrinkled in a way it hadn't been this morning. "Hey," she said, her voice soft, almost guilty. She dropped her bag by the door and kicked off her shoes, avoiding my eyes. "Long night?" I asked, my tone sharper than I meant. She flinched, just slightly, but enough to notice. "Yeah," she said, crossing to the fridge. "The case is a nightmare. Joe's been riding us hard." There it was again, Joe. The name landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading through me. "You didn't answer my text," I said, leaning against the counter, my arms crossed to hide the shake in my hands. She poured a glass of water, her back to me. "Sorry. Got caught up. You know how it is." Her voice was too casual, like she was reading from a script. "Do I?" The words slipped out, low and edged with something I couldn't name. Anger, hurt, desperation. She turned, her eyes meeting mine for the first time. They were tired, but there was something else there, something guarded. "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked, setting the glass down too hard. The clink echoed in the quiet. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but my voice came out soft, almost pleading. "You're never here, Elise. And when you are, you're somewhere else. With him." Her face changed, shock, then defiance, then something softer, like guilt. "You're being ridiculous," she said, but her voice cracked. "Joe's my boss. We're working on a case. That's it." "Then why don't I believe you?" I stepped closer, close enough to smell her perfume, now mixed with something unfamiliar. Cologne maybe, or just the scent of a lie. "Why do you lock your phone? Why do you flinch when I say his name?" She laughed, but it was brittle, like glass about to shatter. "You're paranoid, Matt. You think I'm cheating because I'm working late? Because I'm good at my job. I think you're hiding something," I said, my voice rising despite myself. "I think you've been hiding it for weeks." She stared at me, her lips parting as if to argue, but no words came. The silence was a confession, louder than any denial. My heart pounded, each beat a hammer against my ribs. I wanted her to fight back, to prove me wrong, but she just stood there, her eyes glistening. "Elise," I said, my voice breaking. "Tell me I'm wrong." She looked away, her hands twisting together. She started, then stopped. The air between us thickened, heavy with what she wouldn't say. And then her phone buzzed on the counter. We both looked at it, the screen lighting up with a single word. "Joe." My world tilted, the edges blurring. She reached for the phone, but I was faster, snatching it before she could. The text was still there, glowing like a wound. Tonight was incredible. Same time tomorrow? The room spun. I looked at her, waiting for an explanation, a denial, anything. But her face crumpled, tears spilling over, and I knew. The truth was a blade, sharp and final, cutting through every hope I'd clung to. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "It just did." I set the phone down, my hands numb. The apartment, our home, felt like a stranger's house. I wanted to yell, to break something, but all I could do was stare at the woman I'd loved, the woman I'd trusted, now a stranger wearing her face. "Get out," I said, the words tasting like ash. She sobbed, reaching for me, but I stepped back, the space between us a chasm too wide to cross. The door closed behind her, the sound final, like the end of a song. I sank to the floor, the cold tile biting into my knees, and let the silence swallow me whole.